welcome. We are so glad you're here. On behalf of the Library Lecture Series Committee, we welcome you to the last lecture of the fall semester. This is the 4th lecture we've had this semester, and this is really the grand finale. I'm so excited. It's like ending in fireworks. Let me see if I can close this. There you go. So last spring, I got 2 different emails from people suggesting that we have Kirt Gonzales come and speak, and they were within about a week of each other. But Jacayla Williams, who is a ZSR library ambassador here and a senior, wrote a 1-page, I mean, it was a long, detailed email telling me all the reasons he must speak, and she included probably about 15 links to either, sources that I could go back and do my own research to find out just how awesome he is. And so I was completely convinced by the end of it. And so Jacayla is going to come and introduce Kirt. We're so glad to have Jacayla, all our ZSR library ambassadors, and we're especially thrilled that Kirt will be coming and speaking thanks to these recommendations that we got.
I will start off with something I wrote in June. Yeah, I'm very short. Sorry, you guys. I will raise my voice. I will speak up. I will speak out on the injustices, because someone needs to give a voice to the voiceless. I would like to say I always felt this way. That is not the case. Life made me this way, because when I needed a voice, mine went away. So I will raise my voice. So I will speak up. So I will speak out on all the injustices, because I refuse to be silenced, not by my mind, not by anyone who refuses to hear the truth, my truth. That was written because Kirt reminded me when I produced his was the executive producer of his documentary that came out in April of this year. When I met him and I had to go through my own leaving of my intimate partner violence situation. So that is why I'm introducing him so he can speak his truth. Kirt Gonzales was born on the island of Trinidad in the Caribbean. When he started high school at age 12, he started playing tennis and became his country's #1 junior tennis player and represented his country at the international junior tennis tournaments. He still plays and competes at tennis tournaments today at the USTA levels. Well, I played tennis also, but this isn't about me. While at high school, he represented his school at public speaking competitions, music festival singing competitions, and considered himself the teacher's pet. He started his bachelor's degree in Trinidad, completing 3 years of it before he migrated to the U.S. to complete his degree. He then went on to pursue his master's and PhDs, both in theology and Christian counseling. Even though he was working full-time while pursuing his degrees, he managed that 4.0, the ones I do not have. He is not just an Aramark employee, but he also has his private counseling practice where he sees clients at his office in Greensboro. As a published author of the book called The Chauncey Street, he travels doing speaking engagement and book signings across the country. I've read his book. I recommend you do it too, especially after this lecture. Dr. Kirt Gonzales.
Hey everybody. So nice to see you here today. You're a little too quiet for me, okay? But I'm so happy to have all of you here today. I have, like I said, I'm happy to see everybody, but there are 2 very special people here with me today, 2 very special ladies. One is a very good friend of mine. She is actually the pastor of a church right here in Winston-Salem. And she's actually having a women's seminar next week at her church where I'm going to be the main speaker at her seminar. This is Pastor Vicki Hines. And the next very special lady that's here with me, who goes with me sometimes but don't get to go to all of my engagements, my very own mother. All right. So this is my book. It's called The Chauncey Street Monster. And in my book, I go into a lot of details about domestic violence and you know how to look for it and what you should do if you know someone or if you yourself is a victim of domestic violence. And I only have 30 copies with me, and I hope you all buy the copies afterwards. They are only $10, okay? So for, you know, if there's a lecturer here, a teacher here that, you know, you want to get a few copies for some of the students, feel free. Okay? Now, before I get started, psychologists have stated that in order to maintain good psychological health, you need at least 8 or more hugs a day. When you hug someone, it releases a hormone in your brain called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a powerful hormone that acts as a neurotransmitter in the brain. Hugging boosts your oxytocin levels, which heals feelings of loneliness, isolation, and anger. This oxytocin helps to strengthen your immune system, and it also works as a pain reliever, and it helps to regulate your blood pressure. When you hug someone and your oxytocin levels increases, it helps to regulate and balance the body's production of white blood cells. Hugging relaxes the muscles, it releases tension, and balances out the nervous system. Hugging is much like laughter and medication. So I want you to just turn to 2 or 3 people, give them a hug, and tell them, nice to see you here today. Okay. Good. So everybody feels okay now. At least you had your daily dose of hugging. All right. On Thanksgiving Day, 2014, the body of Shannon Jones, a 23-year-old senior at Cornell University, was found dead in her apartment. Her boyfriend had strangled her to death. Rebecca Eldermeyer, a 21-year-old student at Miami University, was shot to death by her boyfriend in her college apartment. Nadine Elzeldine, a student at the University of Chicago, went to her part-time job after classes. Her boyfriend came to her job, shot her to death right in her job, and it was the day of her 22nd birthday. Cecilia Lamb, a student at San Francisco State University, and Daimony Green, a student at the University of South Carolina, were both shot and killed by their boyfriends right on college campuses. 18-year-old Alexandra Krogat was killed by her boyfriend, Clayton Whitmore, who told the police that he doesn't have any remorse in killing her because his girlfriend got him really mad, and so he intentionally killed her. Time will fail me to give you a host of accounts of young, bright students who were killed across college campuses right here in the good old US of A. The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence stated that domestic violence is sadly all too common on college campuses. Statistics have shown that 1 in 5 college students have been abused by an intimate partner. 1 in 5. Let me see all of the female college students here today. I want you to stand. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. Before you all sit down, you remain standing, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You all sit down, you remain standing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You remain standing, the rest of you all sit. Let her remain standing. Anyone of you all, don't have. No, not yet, not you yet. You stand up. Okay, yeah. You sit. Okay, you all sit up. Okay, Brittany, you stay standing. The rest of you all sit down. Okay? Sit down. You stay standing. Okay. 1 in 5 students is abused by an intimate partner. So when we walk into this room today and everybody's smiling and everybody just came from classes or going to classes later on, and we have 5 girls here right now that may have come into this auditorium that would have just been abused. However, if statistics are correct, and it usually is, statistics have said that 80% of domestic violence cases go unreported. So now I want 5 more students to stand up because these are going to be the students that did not report it, okay? So let me see 5 more students stand up. Okay. So now we have these young ladies that have just been abused. And now they are going into their classrooms, crying, sad, want to kick and punch something, going through internal turmoil. And they come into your classes, professors, and nobody knows what they're going through. Because we see them smiling. I spoke at a church convention one time, and the topic that I was speaking on was bleeding on the inside but smiling on the outside. And you pass your college mates every single day, walk by them, and you have no idea that these young ladies are going through internal hell. And the sad thing is, when a survey was done, it showed that over 70% of professors have no idea what to do to help students that are going through domestic violence. Sit down, ladies. Thank you. The Department of Justice reported that women between the ages of 16 and 24 suffers from domestic violence at the highest rate of any survey group, which means 16 to 24 college students. Sadly, college campuses are not always the safe havens they should be. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that every minute, 20 people suffers from domestic violence. How long we've been here now? Okay. So in the last minute, or in the last 15 minutes that we've been here, almost or over, you do the math, how many women have been abused? And when you do the math, you would find out that every single year right here in the USA, over 10 million people are affected by domestic violence. And of these millions of people that are affected, thousands are murdered. The statistics also go on to say that in the US, every 9 seconds, not 9 months, not 9 hours, but every 9 seconds, a woman is beaten. Right now, somebody's daughter is being beaten. According to the Teen Dating Abuse Report conducted by True Insight in 2009, they found that over 70% of young adults don't even realize that they are being abused. And that truly bothers me, that someone is being abused and don't realize that they're being abused. It is easy to know that you're being abused when it's the physical, you know, the hitting, the slapping, the kicking, the punching. Yeah, we all know that that's abuse. But abuse goes way beyond the physical. There is the verbal, there is the mental, there's the emotional, and oftentimes they are overlooked because of the fact that it is not physical. But they hurt just as much as the physical. So when your boyfriend or girlfriend, because you know you got some crazy girls these days, accuses you of cheating on them and you're saying, no, you're not. And then your partner demands to check your cell phones and go through your Facebook and your Instagram, and he's very aggressive, or she is very aggressive about it. Guess what? You're dating an abuser. Anytime your partner has to control your friends, who you can or cannot talk to, where you can or cannot go, what you can or cannot wear, guess what? You're dating an abuser. When you constantly have to report your whereabouts to your partner and be calling or texting every 10 minutes to let them know where you are and what you're doing because they're so insecure, and they get mad when you don't do it, guess what? Y'all are smart. You're dating an abuser. If your partner becomes aggressive because you're going to hang out with your friends or you choose to study instead of coming to his dorm room, guess what? Yeah, that's signs that you're dating an abuser. Anytime your partner demands to control your money, now we know college students, they don't really have a whole lot. So whatever little it is you do have, and he wants to tell you what you can or cannot do with your money and all of that, guess what? You're dating an abuser. Domestic violence is about power and control that one person wants to have over another. And sometimes it is difficult to get out of it because you really have no idea how far that person, that abuser, will go to punish you for leaving or for reporting. So many stay in the abusive relationships out of fear. And anytime you are in a relationship where you are afraid to express your opinions, express your thoughts and your feelings, because you're so worried that your boyfriend or girlfriend is going to get really aggressive and mad and want to get violent, what you need to understand is in any relationship, you have the right to speak your mind, express your feelings without feeling judged, put down, or ridiculed. Please do not make the mistake, please, that you can change someone. Don't make the mistake that you can change someone. You ain't the Lord Jesus Christ. He's the only person that has the power to change anyone. Okay? So when someone shows you who they really are, guess what? Believe them. And when you see someone's true colors, do me a favor. Remember my words, and I want you to run like a prostitute running from the police. Run. You know, I'm going to talk about my sister a little later on, but my sister and I, we were complete opposites. when someone showed me who they are, Hayo Pancho. My sister, on the other hand, felt that I was always too judgmental and that I don't give people chances. So when she started dating the guy that I was totally opposed to, and you know me, I'm very outspoken, so I was very verbal in my feelings. She felt like, you just being, you're just being bad. You're just too judgmental. You know, she was part of the women's ministry in her church. And one time the pastor of the church got sick, and she had to go with a few of the women to clean up the pastor's house, and help her because she was flat out sick. So they decided to do something for the pastor. So when my sister went with the women, her boyfriend demanded that she had her phone on speaker, had it on and on speaker, so that he can hear all what they're talking about and know what she's doing at all times. Now, of course, my sister graciously obliged, and that's what she did. I want you all to understand your value. You have to value yourself and understand how precious you really are. The Bible tells us that the Lord takes care of the sparrows in the field. How much more precious do you think you are, who he made in his own image and likeness? A pearl, which is a very precious thing, is hidden. When you want to get good gold and a diamond, you got to dig really deep to get these precious items. When you go into a jewelry store, the cheap jewelry is usually at the front of the store, and the really expensive ones is usually in the back where they are really guarded. When you go into a clothing store, the really cheap clothes that's on the clearance, that everybody could touch and feel and all of that, they're usually to the front of the store where everybody can easily access them. And the really good, expensive clothing items, it's usually further in the back of the store. Young ladies, you have to understand that when you are blessed and you are highly favored and you walk around revealing your assets by the way you dress and you carry yourself, stop complaining that men are dogs and all they want you for is your body. Sweetie, if all you are showing, if all you're selling is your body, that's all they're going to want to buy. You cannot walk around dressed like a Nicki Minaj, yes, I said it, but expect to be respected like a Michelle Obama. It's just not going to happen. And, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and the way I see some young girls walking around Wake Forest dressed, when my daughter goes to college, and because I will stalk her while she's in college, and I ever come up on college campus and see her dressed inappropriately, okay, that's all I'm going to say. Just know I'm from the Caribbean. But you got to put value on yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So here are some of the things that I want you all to do. First, to begin, you got to surround yourself with positive people. If you have a vision or a goal for your life, surround yourself with people who believe in you and who can help you achieve your vision and your goal, and to help you get to your destiny. Get rid of all of the dead weights. You know, the dead weights, those who just want to drink and smoke and hang out and party and don't want to study and all of that like you want to. Get rid of all of the dead weights, because you'll be surprised how quickly 4 years go by. Secondly, I want you all to learn to speak positive about yourself. The Bible tells us that life and death is in the power of the tongue. Your words have power. So you speak positive affirmations about yourself every single day. And what you can do is write down your goals on a piece of paper and stick it up on your mirror that you see every single day in the bathroom or whatever. And every day when you see that piece of paper, you speak those things. And you speak it out until it becomes a reality. Place value on your life. It does not matter the circumstances or situations that you were born into. Your life has value. It does not matter the mistakes that you have made in life. Your life has value. It does not matter if you never knew your daddy. Your life has value. Before your mother met your daddy, God knew who you were and he placed values on your life. So therefore, you need to see yourself the way God sees you and understand that you are priceless and you are valuable. If nobody thinks anything of you, you speak positively about yourself and think well about yourself. When my mother became pregnant with me, her family told her, you need to get rid of that baby or we're going to completely disassociate ourselves from you because of who my daddy was. You know, my daddy was the playboy, you know, in the area that my mom lived, you know. So they felt he was not good enough for her. So they told her, get rid of that baby because we don't want you pregnant for that boy. Well, she did not get rid of the baby. And so they kicked her out of the house, and she only had a friend that had a little studio apartment, and so she moved in with the friend, and she had to sleep on the ground, you know, while she was pregnant with me. A few months later, she met this guy, and she moved in with him and got pregnant for him. And because of the fact that I was another man's child, I was beaten really, really bad. Every time my mother turned her face or go out, I was always beaten. The one thing that I could remember like if it was yesterday, I was home with him and my mom went to the store and she walked back into the house. The same time he kicked me in my stomach and banged my head against the wall. And you know, I mean, I was 5 years old at that time. I know you all see me now, you know, 6'2" and 200 pounds of muscles, you know, but I wasn't always like this, you know. I was a tiny little thing, you know, at age 5. And so my mom dropped the bag and jumped on him, and I saw him run to the kitchen, get what we call in the Caribbean a cutlass, but you all call it a machete over here. And I'm in a corner screaming my little eyeballs out, watching my mom being beaten with this machete. She immediately moved to the northern part of our country and got a job and left my 28-year-old cousin to babysit. And every time my mother turned her back, I was sexually molested. She got married when I was 8 years old. And as a child, I suffered with asthma. And one night I was having a really bad asthma attack. And so I was going into my mom's room to tell her, I'm feeling really ill, I can't breathe. And when she was getting up off the bed to come to see about me, her husband pulled her by her hair, told her, leave him alone, he'll be fine. My mom said, I gotta go take care of my child. He pulled her down on the bed and started to beat her so bad. I ran back into my bedroom, threw myself over my little sister to kind of shield her just in case he came after us afterwards. My mom came into the room after the beating with half of her face black and blue, and she wasn't even concerned about her own pain. She was only concerned about me and me getting better. When you leave college and my goal for you is that you get a nice husband, you get married and have your children. But just in case you have children before you get married, please be very careful who you leave your children with. Be very careful who you bring into your children's lives. After that, my mom left him and she moved in with her older sister. And one day they were having an argument. I was 9, almost 10 years old. And one day they were having an argument. And my mom said something to the effect of, her precious child. And my aunt started pointing her head up her finger in my head and was saying, that will never turn out to be anything good. That will be a complete failure to our family. By the time that reached 12, he will drop out of school, he will be no good. And he will just be a complete embarrassment to you for the rest of your life. Maybe that's why I became such an overachiever. Everything I did, I always wanted to be the best at it. But my family had this doom and gloom on my life. I was supposed to be such a failure. When I left Trinidad, my sister she got involved with a guy, and she was in an abusive relationship there, and she had the first child for the guy, and one day my mom was in the house and she heard this big noise in our backyard, and when she ran outside, the guy was standing over my sister with a belt. My mom went and reported it to the police, got a restraining order, but my sister kept seeing him. One day he saw my sister in the streets in Trinidad, spat on her, and told her he's coming to see his child, and if anybody tries to stop him, he will kill them. So my sister called me that night crying, and that's when I said to her, you know what, I have no interest in going back to Trinidad to live. Pack everything up, because she was living in my house in Trinidad. I said, pack everything up, and I'm sending you the plane ticket for you and your child to come over here. So I rescued her, brought her to the United States. 1 year later, I saw her coming out from the car of the guy living next door to us, and I went ballistic. I told her that is not the type of person you want to deal with. And so what she did was secretly was dating this guy. When she was 3 months pregnant, she told him she's pregnant for him. He flipped out and strangled her to the point where she blacked out. When she came through, he was standing over her laughing, telling her, you see what you made me do? They were having an argument when she was 6 months pregnant, and he strangled her again to the point where she was unconscious. And then it happened a third time when she was 8 months pregnant. The abuse went on for 6 years, and after 6 years of it, my sister decided she had enough. She told him, you can see your child as often as you want, but as far as you and I are concerned, I'm done, I've had enough. But he kept stalking her and would not leave her alone. On the 18th of September in 2013, my sister left her job. She was working as a nurse's aide. She went and she got her 2 daughters, the older one who was born in Trinidad and the younger one who was 5 years old at the time. And that was the daughter of the guy she was dating. When she got to the apartment, he was waiting outside of the apartment. As they were going inside of the apartment, he stopped and he gave the girls $8 and told them to go to the corner store to get some chicken. They were 15 and 5 years old at the time. When they left to go get the chicken, he went inside of the apartment with my sister, shot her 3 times in her body, and as she laid lifeless on the floor, pointed the gun to the back of her head and shot her 3 more times at the back of her head to ensure that she was dead. Then he ran, and a few minutes later, the girls came back from the corner store to find their mother in a pool of blood, dead on the floor. At my sister's funeral, I was asked to do the eulogy. And as I stood at the podium looking down at my sister's body, I vowed to her that her death will not be in vain. I vowed to her that I would keep her memory alive by educating others about domestic violence. It's too late now for me to save my sister, but it is not too late for me to warn others and tell others about the dangers of domestic violence. And as long as I have breath in my body, and as long as the Lord allows me to live, I will continue to travel and speak and warn people of domestic violence, so that another mother will not have to walk into a morgue and look at bullet holes in the back of her daughter's head. That another brother will not have to walk into his apartment and see his sister's blood scattered all over the apartment. That another daughter will not have to walk into a house and find her mother dead on the floor. Domestic violence is a worldwide epidemic, and it must be stopped. Thank you. So I was told that to give some time for people that may have questions. So if there's anybody that have a question, please feel free to ask right now. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? I'm so happy to see Peter and Mr. Charles here. You know, there would have been violence on campus if you all wasn't here, right? Okay. Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. You don't have a lot of men. It's mainly women who have survived it and that want to tell their story. And I felt that it would take a new light coming from the perspective of a male, and that's why I decided to do it. And everywhere I go, you would be amazed at the people that come up to me afterwards and the stories that I hear afterwards. And my sister was murdered in September of 2013, and October in the United States is Domestic Violence Month. And so the state was putting on this huge domestic violence rally, and they asked me to be one of the speakers. But before, when they started off, they were calling out the list of people that was killed in New York by domestic violence, and there was about 25 people on the list, and about 9 of them were men who were killed by their female partners. So men are affected, and whenever I go, I'm usually well received, everywhere I go. And like I said, the stories I hear I don't think anybody can tell me anything anymore that can surprise me. I mean, I've heard it all, I think, you know, but I think coming from the perspective of a male, that's why I wanted to do this. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, well, if that is all, I thank you all for coming. And I hope that there will be some of you all that would want to purchase a copy of my book. Like I said, it's only $10. My mom have them. So, if when you get them from her, I'll sign them for you afterwards, okay? All right, guys, thank you all for coming.